A room in the Malcolm X Library in Valencia Park fills with chatter. More than a dozen people arrive for a meet and greet with the Black Panthers.
Thank you, everyone, for making it to the meet and greet.
Half a century later, their 10-point platform remains the same. But copies are being passed into a new generation of hands. At one end of the table sits their Minister of Information, a 24-year-old in all black, curly hair spilling out of a black beret.
I like my speech and my action to align. So if I'm saying I'm a Panther, then you're gonna see a Panther.
She goes by Fiel.
A lot of us prefer the pseudonyms just for identity protection as much as possible, because the counterintelligence programs are still operating against, especially black radical organizations.
Fiel had been hunting for an outlet for what she calls revolutionary change.
But I wasn't really vibing with, I wasn't really fitting with a lot of the movements that were happening around me.
She says she mostly saw protests with no follow-up.
We're here, we're angry, we're a lot of times like facing a lot of violence, and then literally nothing is changing.
She learned about the Black Panthers in a TV documentary.
We stand on the eve of a black revolution, brothers.
And looked to see if they were still around. She joined the local chapter last year. They run a community garden, feed unhoused people, and run a free store on what used to be a notorious site of gang activity. They file complaints against the police and observe stops in their neighborhoods. Through the programs, they teach the community how to empower themselves. The Panthers were mostly active in the 1960s. Their iconic black berets, brought out of the history books and back into the streets of San Diego, grab attention.
Every time we go out, it's always like that. They're like, oh my God, there's Panthers? Y'all are Panthers, what are you doing? You know?
Can I ask what your family thought about you getting involved?
I didn't tell them at first.
She says she was nervous about what they might think. Fiel and the Panthers face a lie that has survived across decades.
They're a black hate group. They're just the black version of the Ku Klux Klan. You know, these are all things that were put out to deliberately mislead.
Misinformation put out by the FBI, who saw their organizing and socialist ideology as a threat. The government's efforts caused the Black Panthers to go largely inactive by 1970, but they reconvened for a 50th anniversary in late 2016.
All power to the people. All power to the people.
This was around the time of a guy by the name of Alfred Alongo was killed in El Cajon.
Alongo, black, unarmed, and in mental crisis, was shot and killed by the police who were called to assist him. Original members decided the community still needed the Black Panther Party, so they brought it back to life. Police violence is one of many issues the Panthers organized around in the 60s that persists today.
Right at the moment that the Panthers were organizing against incarceration, there was less than a tenth of the people in prison then that are in prison now.
It's not just in San Diego. The Panthers are reviving in places across the country to address worsening issues like incarceration, housing, and food insecurity. But San Diego Panthers Chief of Staff Karan Fields says their vision is bigger than their service projects.
These are Band-Aids, right? Like, these are programs designed for survival, right? So this is the end goal.
The goal, he says, is to empower the community to change their conditions, end the need for Band-Aids, end the need for the Black Panthers.
As long as we need Panthers, then our job isn't done.
The party now vets new members, including background checks. There's also a new multicultural branch called the Panther Party, and they don't open carry guns.
The most serious weapon we carry around is an ink pen.
This is the actual application to be able to join.
Applications close August 31st. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.